What's up? It's been so long. And if I sound a little weird, it's because I'm just getting over the flu. Shut up, leave me alone. But I knew I just had to come back here to BlackJupiter to make another video because I, Agent Random, have a huge discovery to share. With the recent release of its 5th chapter, Deltarune has been the talk of the town, and it's not hard to see why. It's a fantastic game, but this video does contain spoilers for, fair warning.
Don't do it, Woody! We love you!
With a great story, fantastic music, and pretty solid gameplay. And let me tell you, I've been obsessed. Die-hard fan, I'd say. And like any die-hard fan, I've been doing my best to try and theorize about the direction that the story is going to go. Who is the Roaring Knight? What's gonna happen in the Weird Route? Who is Hatsune Miku? That sort of thing. So while bored, sick, and bedridden, I resorted to digging around Deltarune's Steam page, and when checking out Toby Fox's profile, I found that there's actually a second game there. No idea how long it's been there for, but yeah, clear as day, he has a second game. One I have never heard anyone talk about before. Something called Undertale, with a logo that just screams knockoff Deltarune, and believe me, the graphics backed it up because, oh my gosh, this game looks ugly. I assume Toby Fox must have made this without telling Temmie, because why does Chris look like that? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Like we do at the start of every video, let's thank our patrons. That's Bacon and Search Noun, Kaiser, Willpower784, Wonderland Snack, The Missing Samurai, Venforia, Blake Jekyll, and Lovelace. Thank you so much for making videos like this possible. And now back to Undertale. Once I booted up the game, we're treated to a cutscene that kinda looks like the prophecy, except it isn't. It tells a story about how long ago, humans sealed every monster underground with a magic barrier, which immediately makes me think that this might be like a prequel to Deltarune. This is backed up by how Toriel talks about wanting to be a teacher and how Chris is but a wee child in this game. Or is that even Chris? See, similar to the start of Deltarune, you get a screen to name your character. But unlike Deltarune, what you enter is actually just the character's name. So I could name this kid Lancer if I wanted to, and that's their name. Anyway, in case it matters, I did keep the name Chris. I mean, it's probably them. Their clothes are even the same color palette as her Dark World outfit. I assume it's them. The opening cutscene shows us Chris fall into a big hole that then takes them straight to the home of the monsters, which sounds way more ominous in this setup than it would be in Deltarune's. And not even 10 seconds in, you meet Flowey. Not Flowery, Flowey. Not a Gerona in sight, and he's a little bit more mean than Flowery. He also doesn't seem to be a Darkner, so I guess there was once a monster who just so happened to be named nearly identically to Flowery. And, you know, since bro isn't in Deltarune, I'm gonna assume that Flowery doesn't make it to the end of the story. Now it's probably a good time to talk about the combat. It's a similar setup to Deltarune, but just, like, worse. There's no other party members, at least not in this first chapter, and the UI doesn't seem to be built for anything other than Chris solo fights anyway. They also removed guarding, grazing, and even TP as a whole for some reason. I think maybe the final boss has TP, or at least the sound effect seems to play when getting grazed by attacks there. Beyond that, the combat is mostly left the same as Deltarune. You can attack, but instead of this timing setup that made sense, you get whatever the frick this is. Acts are back, but it's way more of a pain to spare enemies now since there's no mercy meter and no way to pacify enemies. And since we can only play as Chris, there's no spells anyway. Like I alluded to, I only played through chapter 1 so far, so maybe there being no mercy meter is like a thing only for the first chapter, like in Deltarune. I'm not so sure yet. But let me tell you, I would kill for a mercy meter because sometimes I am spamming these acts for like 10 turns and nothing. As a final point, and I promise to stop talking on the graphics eventually, but not being able to see Chris in the battles is just lame. Being in black and white is also kind of lame. Gives real we have Deltarune at home kind of vibes, you know? Anyway, we quickly meet Toriel, who exclusively wears her church clothes and lives in a cave. This seems to be her very first interaction with Chris, and we know from Deltarune that she does end up adopting them, so this gives a lot of credence to my prequel theory. I mean, this whole time I assumed that she raised Chris and their brother in suburbia USA, but it seems that she actually adopted Chris when they were a child yearning for the mines. The mines that Toriel lived in, of course. And hey, she even gives Chris their phone. And we get to uphold the Deltarune staple of forcing Chris to do incredibly awkward things. In this case, flirting with their soon-to-be mom. We don't go to a dark world or anything, so battles in this game are literally just Chris squaring up with any monster who comes by their way. Which is made 10 times funnier because Chris looks like 4 years old in this. A lot of the enemies do seem to be dollar store versions of Darkners though. Like, that's a Rabbit attack, and that's a dropout Shino Beetle. Also, why did these two hit me with the Roaring Knight special? Anyway, I assume Toby made this in between Deltarune chapters or something, so I'll give him a little bit of slack for the reused attacks. Also, I get we're in the light world, but would it have killed you to use the dark world's pause menu? Why are there no configuration options? You have to full screen by pressing F4, which the game doesn't even tell you until you're nearly done with the chapter. Also, I think the puzzles are way less thought out this time around. Or maybe I'm just stupid, I don't know. Nah, I blame the puzzle. Frick this invisible path falling one. This is what happens when there's no Ralze to be your tutorial. The closest thing we have to a tutorial in this game is Toriel. Oh! The first chapter is pretty light on Deltarune characters showing up. Don't even dream of seeing any Darkners, but even big shots like Susie and Noelle are total no-shows so far. Like, I'm sure they're gonna show up eventually, but for right now, the most we get is Napstabluke, who's like one of the police officers in the light world. I don't blame you if you forgot he existed. Low-key, I did too. And I have a hunch he's only here because they make a joke about his name starting with the word nap. Aw, hey look, maybe Chris found their first knife. Okay, now stab into the ground. I want to see something. Anyway, eventually you make it to Toriel's home, which is the point where I started to get real confused about how we get from point A to point B in this timeline. Because Asgore and Asriel are very much not living in this home. I mean, I'm a big supporter of the theory that Ralze is just Asriel LARPing as a Darkner. I mean, I'd go as far as to say that this is the most obvious twist ever, but this video isn't about that. My point is that surely we'd see Asriel / maybe Ralze here in the caves to confirm that. Or maybe he's out somewhere smooching with Des, IDK. Holy crap, this game is probably gonna end up being the first appearance of Des. That is wild to think about. As for the Flower Man himself, he's not home at the moment, and apparently he's way into killing kids now. My gosh, that red text gives him way more aura than he deserves. Also, while I'm on the subject of Asgore, that's totally his voice on the game over screen, right? Anyway, the final boss of Chapter 1 is none other than Toriel herself. Okay, that's actually peak. I mean, she's easy as the pie she gives you beforehand, but still sick. Again, it would be nice if she had a visible mercy meter, since I'm not sure the axe do anything, and I just ended up spamming mercy like a dozen times until her invisible meter was full. Why did the skeleton want a friend? Okay. And that was Chapter 1 of Undertale. But I wanted to be thorough before I moved on to Chapter 2, so I went ahead and dug through to see if I can find any of those chapter staple secrets. But the game doesn't give you multiple save slots like Deltarune, seemingly discouraging you from replays. So I stole my girlfriend's Steam account and bought the game a second time, and hey, look at that, good as new. At this point, I realized that if I can name Chris anything, then maybe there's different dialogue if I name them like Toriel or something, and the game straight up will not let you. I tried to see if any other characters had a similar flavor text or such for using their names, but Susie, Noelle, and Des are all fair game for some reason. I did find that Asriel, Asgore, and Sans were blocked though. Why is Asriel so ominous? Flowey's banned too. Not Flowery though, there's not enough letters anyway, I tried. No look at any Darkner though, including Ralze, interestingly. So maybe we actually will not end up seeing Asriel take on the Ralze identity in this game. Huh. Anyway, I went poking around to see if there was any sort of secret boss, but came up totally empty-handed. I mean, the whole chapter is pretty linear, and all backtracking seemed to get me was extratorial dialogue. I thought this whole extra dig was totally pointless until I thought to check for a weird route. There's no Noelle or Ice Shock or anything, so I thought I would be totally out of luck until I tried just straight up stabbing guys. Because apparently Kid Chris had way more murder in their veins than Teen Chris does, since enemies do not run away when defeated with violence. Or at least I assume Chris must be into this, since they never rip us out during this chapter, no matter what we do. But maybe they just don't know how yet. But yeah, enemies can straight up die, and you even gain EXP. You know, that one thing that you're redundantly mentioned to never get in Deltarune? And enemies aren't seen in the overworld in this game, so there isn't like a great way to track who I've killed, so I just started running in circles to grind out blind encounters. Well, I say running, but it looks like Toby actually forgot to enable the run button in this game. Did he program this during a lunch break? Well, at least this game's jankiness lets me make Chris do a silly dance against the walls. And eventually... Whoa. We found the weird route! I then tried to fight Toriel instead of sparing her, and oh my gosh. I'm gonna be seeing that in my nightmares. After that, we see Flowey one last time and to make a vow to team up to kill everyone. Oh my gosh, it's like this isn't even a weird route. It's almost like some kind of mass extinction route. Okay, but why does Flowey know about the soul though? What's up with that? Have we not seen him in Deltarune because he's part of Team Bunker? Oh my gosh. And that's everything that I could find in Chapter 1. So it seems to me like the normal route is going to be our fun, canon-compliant story of how Chris joined the Dreamer family, while the weird route is... I don't freaking know. It's the murder power fantasy, I guess. It is a shame that it didn't give you a unique boss as soon as you triggered it like in Deltarune, but hopefully that also means we don't have 2 chapters of nearly identical gameplay across both routes. So yeah, definitely recommend checking out Undertale. I know for me at least, it really helped me become much more connected to Toriel and see that she really does care about Chris a lot more than I had thought from just Deltarune. If y'all are interested, maybe I'll cover other chapters later down the line, but for right now, just to give myself a taste, let's see the very beginning of Chapter 2 and... oh my gosh.